In section 3.1.25-T, the accompanying data represent the weights in grams of a simple random sample of 50 candies. Determine the shape of the distribution of weights of the candies by drawing a frequency histogram. Then find the mean and the median. And then which measure of central tendency better describes the weight of the candy. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up this question. Now, you can draw this histogram by hand, but we don't want to do that. We want to be able to use technology. So in this question, I'm going to go ahead and click on the icon to view the weights of the candy. So now you're going to be able to see the data that you saw on the previous slide. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open this up in StatCrunch. And so now we know that the column represents candy weights and all the data is in the first column. And so what we want to do is we want to be able to create a histogram. So let's go ahead and select graph. And then down below on graph, you're going to see histogram. So we're going to select that. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and select candy weight so that it's in here. Okay. Now we can add certain things into this as we go, and we'll see this in other problems as later on. But you can put markers in here for like the mean. You can put markers in for the median, so you can select that. You could put dividers in there as a percent or a count. You can label the x-axis and label the y-axis. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to label the x-axis as weight in grams. And then we can label the y-axis as the frequency. And then if we want, we can write the title. You know, if we want to, we can say that the title are candy weights. So this is something that you can look at when you're doing your project. Okay? And then everything else we can leave alone. So we're going to go ahead and select compute. And then you can see here that we have our frequency, we have our weight in grams, we have candy weights, and then here's our histogram. And then this green line in its red is representing the mean. Okay, so it's giving you the mean already in the graph. So now we're going to go ahead and go back to the question. So here's our histogram. Okay, so here's the histogram that we had drawn. Okay, and so here you can see our histogram, and then it's going to represent the one that you're going to select in your problem. So you can see here that the low one here is 0.8. You have here in the middle here, and you have your histogram. Okay, so now in part 2, we want to, which measure of central tendency better describes the weight of the candy? So before we answer this question, we need to be able to find the mean and the median of this data. So if we go back to this question, okay, we can go ahead and then either just close this. And then if we want to find the mean and the median, we're going to go to Stat and then select Summary Stats and then go to Columns. And then we're going to select Candy Weights. And then we want to find the mean, and then we're going to highlight the median by using the Control button. And then we're going to select Compute. So here we can see that the mean for the candy weights is 0.885, and we can see that the median is 0.885. So what does that tell us? Well, that tells us, again, here's the summary. So here is the central tendency. That means that this is the middle of the data. Now, the last part is we want to be able to determine, the question is asking us, how do we describe the shape of the distribution? So the data are skewed left if the median is greater than the mean. Symmetric if the median and the mean are equal, and are skewed right if the median is less than the mean. So in this case, we can see that the median is roughly equal to the mean. So therefore, we're going to say the distribution of the data is symmetric. Now, if the data are roughly symmetric, then the mean is a better measure of central tendency, because the mean is often used for statistical inference and it uses all of the data instead of only the position of the data. If the data are skewed, then the median is the better measure. Now, since the data is symmetric, we can say that the mean is a better measure of central tendency. So therefore, the mean better describes the weight of the candy. So then we would say that the distribution is symmetric, so the mean is the better measure of central tendency.